The free library network. Okay, that is something I will give you contacts. The union should, AISA should invite people from the free library. So the free library network is a worldwide movement, but it's a huge movement in India to set up free libraries. Now, your library is not free. It appears to be free, but you're paying fees for the university. So no university library is free. There are no free libraries. So the idea is that you have free libraries, and whether it's someone like me earning a professor's salary or it is the daughter of the person who cleans my house, everyone should have access to the free library. And there are many actually existing free libraries. There are three at least in Delhi. So I went to one of them. So this is called the TCRP, the Community Library Project. It's in Kirti Village. If you're that side, go drop in. So what happened, when I went into those spaces, I went into two such libraries, I realized they have, that's where I got the idea. They have like a list of what we have to be here. हम ऐसा नहीं करेंगे, हम वैसा करेंगे, and these are all young communities. So this is not in middle class locality. One is in Kirti, one is in Nizamuddin Basti, not Nizamuddin Westway, but Nizamuddin Basti, Kirti Village. One is in South Extension, but actually draws in not the big South Extension homes, but the working class people of the area. And you have these young people who are taking you around, and it was so exciting. She tells me, this young girl. So they don't have access to universities, they don't have access to library. So she's explaining the project to me, and she's saying, ये मुफ्त है, ये free library है, free दो मायने में है, free मतलब मुफ्त, लेकिन free मतलब आजाद. मतलब my रोंगटे खड़े हो गए मेरे. What a way to put it, this young woman, the way she put it, that's a culture. So then she showed me this list of, so because people who come into the library are anybody. So how are they supposed to behave? So I'm thinking this is actually one interesting thing you could consider.
When we were in our masters, so when this EJ culture and Bollywood, we had actually made a list of songs, which are Bollywood songs, petty songs that people can dance on, but at the same time does not infringe on sort of our, body, doesn't make us feel uncomfortable, because we also want to dance, we also want to let our hair down. And this was a whole movement. We went to all the hostels, we went to the hostel presidents, we put it up in school areas. But nobody, not a single hostel, not a single DJ followed that list. In fact, in CHS, when we were throwing the farewell for our seniors, and we made this, that was the time we made the list. And the men of our class actually said that if we want to dance on high heels, then we will dance on high heels, and you will not tell us what we can dance on and what we can't. So, wishful thinking was there a lot on our part also, but none of it actually materialized in the end, in any of the hostels at any of the buildings.
So I don't know, we had the same issue. A friend of mine was hostel president in Budapest, and they tried something similar, and the teacher was quite the rage there. And it was placed before the school body, please don't play this song. And it was taken very seriously by the person who made the proposal. Nobody agreed. Women didn't agree. And the hostel president resigned, and so he kept the company who sat behind the mess when the song was being played. Everybody was dancing to it, and we just played fruit cream and this sort of. What do you do?
Okay, look, I want to make a counter view to this. Okay? I think there is quite a strong feminist take on such songs, including Choli Devi.
Yes.
So, for example, what is interesting, like Shohi Ghosh has written on this, there are two versions of Choli Devi. One is the two women singing to each other, and one is the man singing. And she says that the two women singing to each other is not the version you get to see. You get to see the man singing it. But the way in which one feminist take on this could be, on all these kinds of songs, could be that you own it. You own that song. For example, you were saying screening of animals. AISA should screen it. Screen it and have a discussion. film and have a discussion. I think it is a debatable thing. It's generating so much discussion. And if you show animal, a lot of students will come. And then you have the discussion. You say, what is the problem? Right? And you conduct a serious discussion because the answer cannot be, because we cannot ever take the position of banning a film or banning a song or banning a book. We have to produce counter responses. We have to, so if for example, there are, I would say that, I don't know exactly what the DJ culture implies. I mean, if there's a way in which women are made to feel uncomfortable, apart from the playing of popular Bollywood songs, Kajra Re, for example, I don't know if you consider that problematic. Choli Ke Piche, there's been that really interesting feminist work in film journals about how Choli Ke Piche can be read as about female desire also. So, it doesn't have to be that, and I thought it was very interesting that Padma brought up popular culture because popular culture is the way to raise a lot of these. So if you say, for example, that you can only play these 20 songs, it is an issue. It can't work like that. How can you say you can only play these 20 songs? It has to be some other way in which everyone feels. So the work is bigger than just producing a disc. The work is, okay, let's have a discussion. Why does this song make us feel uncomfortable? And maybe some kind of negotiation and compromise, right? Some kind of conversation has to take place. So I think if you think about doing this, what are the norms by which we want to live on this campus? One of them would be continuously checking in with one another about whether this is comfortable or not. So I think one needs to not give up just because, I mean, I know, because I think Padma and I are not exactly the same generation at all, she's much younger than me. But we both I think traveled this journey of a kind of feminism which is anti-pornography and tearing down posters that were seen as pornographic, etc., to thinking about pornography differently. How to think about pornography, how to deal with it as feminists, so continuously how to produce counter discourses.
So while with some songs, of course we can, but say there's a song called Tu Haan Kar Ya Na Kar, They Meri Kiran. That's a complete violation of concept. There's no way you can say that women won't do it. Or there's a song which is that popular poetry.
Look at the regressive values. That was not too unthinkable. No, what I'm saying is that we cannot assume that I'm suggesting a more strong sense of a feminist setting, which is not so destabilized by, I mean, we could laugh at this moment. We are engaging, I think by now everybody understands that these kind of words are making light of a very serious issue. But listening, we have to make a distinction between listening to, at any rate, let me put it this way, this is worth a discussion. You could have the next discussion would be just with students, among students on how do we engage with music, what about American rap? I find some of that relatively sexist. So how does one, I mean, you may not arrive at an answer, but it's an interesting, why don't you have a discussion on, and maybe get someone like Shuri, professor at Jamia. She's basically funny and she makes me laugh a lot, but she's very, very interesting things to say about songs like Choli Ke Piche and a discussion on pornography. So we should have these discussions. And an overall position would be, I think, a better position would be how to produce counter discourses rather than, like if Anaka Kiran is also a man's name. You can do things with it. You can do things with that song. You can do other things with that song. It can be a fun song. But I know why you're uncomfortable. And I think this is what my response to was. It is not fun because we live in such a violent society.
There is
your hand, I don't think it's like you cried wolf
She
too
actually
often.
wants to.
She's cried wolf too often. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, next. Okay.
There is always a dilemma within me that as a feminist or an anti-casteist, these values which make me progressive, if I practice these things, I feel alienated from my society, from my caste, which I belong to.
If you practice anti-casteism and anti-sexism, you will feel alienated from your
From
society.
my society and my family also. They say every week that if you can marry other caste, they are afraid to. I mean, these kind of things, so I leave this. I personally leave this and say that I should have enjoy myself. Even though I am not sexist, I am not making these songs play because I want to make them feel upward, but I want to enjoy. I mean, if I practice this, I personally feel uncomfortable because I don't engage with my people. If these people have genuine people, if I am with people,
Are you from June? Are you student here?
I am used to them.
So, do you student?
Yeah. So I am saying that if I interact with these people, okay, they would have conversation. But I would have conversation with my best friends. They would say, यार तू ज़्यादा intellectual बन रहा है, ये कर रहा है. These things are said, and I feel
देखिए ये आपको एक निर्णय लेना होगा at some point आपकी जिंदगी में आपको एक डिसीजन लेना होगा और वो डिसीजन होते होते बनता है. ऐसा नहीं कि आज आपने डिसीजन लिया आर्या का थोड़ा थोड़ा करके ये डिसीजन बनता है कि आप किस समुदाय के साथ जुड़ना चाहते हैं. और at some point you will have to decide कि ये मेरे लोग हैं या ये मेरे लोग हैं. और अगर आपने ये निर्णय लिया कि वो कास्टिस्ट सेक्सिस्ट समुदाय मेरी दुनिया है, ये मेरे लोग हैं, तो बेशक जाइए उस दुनिया में. और आई एम सेइंग दैट यू विल बी अनकंफर्टेबल with either this group or that group. You have to decide which discomfort is better for you. Which discomfort makes you a better person? Which discomfort makes you a happier person? Are you happier being sexist and casteist? So, Alvida? If you are happier being casteist and sexist, तो फिर एक point के बाद I will have to say I cannot have any conversation. है ना? But I think that the way you are asking questions, you are going through a manthan, you are going through a turmoil, you are going through a. I appreciate the fact that you are here. You are saying, see how I suddenly realized you are not from JNU? Because you did that, ये लोग और वो लोग, मेरे लोग और ये लोग. लेकिन आप आ रहे बार बार पनिशमेंट के लिए, है ना?
ये अलग लोग हैं, वो अलग लोग हैं, but
नहीं, आप सोचिए ना, you said I feel uncomfortable with my people. So look, what I'm saying is, if you feel a certain, यहाँ से आपको यहाँ मतलब आप नाम से यहाँ मीनिंग JNU, you get certain ideas, you get certain something that makes you feel uncomfortable. As I said, feeling uncomfortable is really growth. सबसे पहले I said that, right? I hope I will always find situations which make me uncomfortable, and that will make me grow. Now, what you have to figure out, and this nobody can do for you, कि अब आपने ये सब सुना, अब वहाँ जाएंगे, do you think you will fully enjoy yourself with a group of very masculine men saying, इसको देखो, इस लड़की को देखो कैसे चल रही है, ये वो, you feel very comfortable, you won't feel, वहाँ भी अब आप uncomfortable हो. So you have to choose कौन से discomfort से आप आगे बढ़ेंगे.
एक्चुअली तो पहले भी थे, बट इंस्टेंट प्लेजर मिलता है. पहले भी डिस्कम्फर्ट में थे, बट इंस्टेंट प्लेजर मिलता है.
उसमें प्लेजर मिलता है और इसमें नहीं मिलता है.
इसमें अंतरात्मा होती है कि ये
You will have to figure this out. See, no one can answer this question for you. But pleasure बहुत है feminist दुनिया में रहने. I can assure you, even the men in this room and the people of all genders in this room, and there is something very beautiful about the way feminism constructs a new world. It is good for all of us. if you don't feel it, then as I said, be happy. What can I say?
I just
Yeah.
want to respond. So, this thing about when your friends saying you intellectual ban rahe ho aur kya karo. But that's one kind of response, and that response is not guaranteed over all the conversations that we have with them in the future. I've always been surprised when I've made a judgment on, oh, these people won't be interested in what I have to say. I've always been surprised. Because there might be 1, 2, 3 people who might listen. This is something that, remember those after the change violence something that we had. In fact, when violence happened on campus, a lot of students had this, moment of breaking away with families who were calling all of us anti-nationals and urban Naxals and all of that. And many students reported and said we've had such fights with family members on large WhatsApp groups, we've left. But we realized that we should, and students also pointed out that those who had the patience to stay on those WhatsApp groups and intervene, a little at a time, they found that there was somebody in that large group who was curious and who was listening. And they recognized the potential of that much interaction. And there were students who didn't ditch their WhatsApp groups with family. I have ditched all of them. But there are people who haven't. And there is that possibility one person who is curious and listening. And asking themselves the same question. मुझे डोपामिन हिट चाहिए या मुझे अपनी अंतरात्मा के साथ रहना है कल सुबह तक.
Now, one question that was raised regarding bullying, that guys usually fear of their clothes and all, and they walk naked into the parade and all. So the thing is that it is said that women are uncomfortable. So what if the men start using the same point that we are uncomfortable out of it? So it is a very subjective term. So instead of that, it could be looked at individual level, if they are enjoying, but if they are crossing your boundaries, so you can communicate. Say, like, don't play around me, but you can play away from me. So this kind of individual communication, because all of these things are subjective. So if you can convey this to the very person who you are uncomfortable seeing around, that would be much easier rather than recognizing as that completely uncomfortable or kind of putting that limit that you can't wear that, you can't wear. Because then that is equally like you are buying girls, this similar you are buying from the towns. So, and second, what I felt is like the ability to say no and the ability to communicate that, see, I'm uncomfortable here. So if this thing can be inculcated in girls, like how they can convey no in a more assertive manner, that would be much better. And also second point that I would like to raise, like I have always came from a girls' school, then a girls' college, and this is first time in a boys' place. So back then I didn't have any norms, but while coming to JNU I developed a lot of norms. Like people are saying we all learned lots of gender norms, but I learned lots of gender norms which I find very difficult. Like for example, the guy is looking at me. While I can't look back at the guy that who is looking at me, I'm curious. It doesn't mean that I'm interested in who is looking at me. But it is said that if you look at the guy, that means you are giving the him that you are interested.
This is a very interesting. All the points you're making are very
And
interesting.
also, like, in case the guy invited you to see his room, and you just took it as invitation and you went, and if the guy tried to get ready on you, then you have given the hint just because you accepted the invitation. Because you're implicitly saying that if I'm coming to in your room, that means I want to do something or I'm interested in you. No, I'm just accepting the invitation to see your room because your room is like the home of ours, right? So these things are find very problematic.
No, so this is actually, the first thing you said is actually very interesting because, so these are, look, this is that community I was talking about, the community of where you're not able to just resolve, there's an incommensurability, right? So she's kind of, I think, suggesting that we don't want to accept any norms for how women should dress. And then what do we do about this situation? How do we convey it? And I think what you're saying is you need dialogue, you need conversation, you need to be able to say what is comfortable, what is not comfortable. And the fact is, I'm reminded of, see, the fact is we don't live in an equal society. whole bunch of men marching like that is intimidating in a way in which a lot of women in shorts marching will not do it. Right? I remember a friend of mine when I was here in the 80s. Jailam was then there was a mixed hostel. There was one mixed hostel where, or no, it was a men's hostel. Whatever. The point is, one of my NA classmates said that he was coming out of the bathroom in just a towel, and some girl was coming into the hostel to meet a friend, a male friend, and so it's not mixed, it was a men's hostel. And he said, I didn't know she was coming, but I didn't care because she's the one who was embarrassed. You see, the point is, either way, if she had been in a towel, she would be embarrassed. If he was in a towel, she's embarrassed. The person who's embarrassed is the woman at seeing a naked man or at a man seeing her naked. Right? So I think there is that element of the way in which shame is produced in this society, in which you can't equally place a woman wearing so-called scanty clothes and men not just wearing shorts, but in this particular mode and on Holi, which is so violent that Delhi University shuts down the university one day before, right? Because Holi is a very violent, sexist festival. Women don't go out except they stay within there. So you have to, it's not just men marching in. It is Holi, it is Puranamanu Holi there, it is that whole culture of sexual harassment where you just stop going out to date with them. Okay. But I see what you're saying, it needs conversation. But this last thing that you said, that you learn gender norms in coming to a co-ed space, this is something which I think anyone, I also studied in a girls' school and a women's college, I think we learn to be quite independent and I think Parman who said that it's your space. And you are absolutely right. I'm reminded that I came to this university and the faculty of my center, who none of them are there anymore, spoke in such, it's not sexually harassing, it's light, very light, treating you very lightly, commenting on, like the faculty commenting on you in a very light way or condescending way, and then literally I was like Robert De Niro, I was like, to me like this, I've just come from a place where I'm taken so seriously, I've never experienced this before. So this is actually an interesting point. This is why there's a very strong argument for women only. And then when you come here, you are told all this. So this is something which as norms you have to develop. If I come to see your room, I'm coming to see your room. That's it. If there's something more, that has to be discussed. If you look at me and I look back at you, there's been a mutuality, आगे कुछ होगा या नहीं, both of us have to decide. So that kind of a culture has to be built up. So I do feel that building up 5 or 6 or 10 rules by talking all over the university would actually be an interesting exercise. I think I'll have to go with maybe we just take, there was a hand there who already spoken, I just take her and
So as ma'am mentioned that patriarchy is controlled or is manufactured from generation to generation, we see it particularly in the point that in terms of punishment. So if we break away from any gender role, we are constantly punished for it, right? But recently something that I've observed that it gets manifested also by pampering the gender. So a friend of mine, she was used to going away with a guy, and there was this one time, like a lot of times she's not going out because there was either no driver or her brother or
there's an issue. Suppose if she doesn't feel there's an issue. This is what Foucault taught us. One thing Foucault taught us is there is power when you see resistance. So if there's a woman who is completely prepared and happy to have her brother drop her everywhere and her father drop her everywhere, and she only when she reaches that point where she realizes that she is held back, will she be willing to listen to you? So don't bother. Don't bother with, this is what I'm telling you, don't bother with people who are completely 100% happy where they are. If they show the slightest discomfort, that's where you tell me. Because if they're completely happy with their people, like you said, right? Then I'm not going to go talk to some thakur who thinks or mere jute tale. Why should I bother? I'll try to rescue his daughter if she feels like being rescued. But what I'm saying is that yes, I would take what you're saying as a comment. That patriarchy functions by smothering also. And that usually happens in upper class families because you have those resources. Yes, so I think I would take that as a comment that patriarchy functions both through violence and through smothering. And one of the reasons, of course, is because they want to protect the woman before handing over to the husband and then saying nothing. So there's that. So unless she's uncomfortable, you can't convince her. Unless for me, why don't you turn to all the women who actually are feeling uncomfortable and want conversation? You can just take a laugh.
Throughout the course of the lecture, we've been having conversations about how communication can be established. And we portray the person we are talking to, even in our anecdotes, people who might listen or are just either ignorant or just not up to the level of understanding of the subject. But there is a completely different category of people who are not just apathetic reactionaries, but actively, ideologically opposed to whatever we do. And the problem therein comes that, so with online forums, since everyone's anonymous, it allows you to say things you wouldn't say offline. And so you get this in-group mentality of everyone, there's other people like me out there with the extremist view. And our parents are especially susceptible to fake news propaganda because they are not brought up organically in the internet generation as we are. And so when we have things like an algorithm which could radicalize you, or like Edward Bernays' ideology which could radicalize you through propaganda, is there any value to the idea of de-radicalization when it is your younger cousin or your loved ones? And is there any value to the idea that you can engage with these people who are definitely going to push back with much more force than the average person on the bus is? And is there a 12-step structured alcoholic recovery program? And
see, I do believe that if there is someone who is actively ideologically opposed to whatever we stand for and believe in, I don't believe the conversation is worthwhile. Because we have limited energy resources, we have limited emotional resources, and it can be very, very devastating to continuously encounter that. So I would, this is not my answer, right? My point would be, so I would say, one is to mobilize, there's no point, we cannot convince that person is not there to be convinced. That person is there, or those people are there to flood a particular thing with comments and so on. So one response is for us to flood back, right? So I would say, I'm not on social media, but I read a lot of comments on the Facebook posts, and I read a lot of comments on YouTube, and I find that the BJP IT cell kind of response, it's so obvious, they hate Nivedita forever. And then you'll find some innocent person saying, why do you not hate Nivedita so much? I mean, like just saying JNU, right? So, because she's so ugly, she's so, now, you don't have to respond on that first. But if that's a campaign you'd like to do, then you leave them. we put our comments right there, back there, so that's one way of looking at it. That's a war. If it is about ideologically committed people who are committed to everything we are opposed to, then it is a war. It's not about convincing. The convincing can only happen if there's space, if there are cousins and uncles and so on, right? Who are or friends, or someone who is saying I'm confused, or someone who is saying. So I think I would not waste any energy trying to win over. I would try to defeat them in the party. But sorry, I just want to just add this and then. The other thing I realized is that we need to be out there as people from JNU in all our ordinariness. See, I've been teaching for 40 years. Patna has also been teaching. We used to just teach in our classrooms and that's who we were. Like students knew us. Who were we? Who was Kanaya? He was just a student. Right? You should have seen him in his first year. Such a sweet, shy person. Look at him now. They made him now. They made all this work. They did this. Right? Now, my point is whenever I did two instances. Maushami Basu, Professor Maushami Basu Vesaya, took a bunch of JNU students on a field trip, CPOD does field trips, to some place outside Delhi. And they've always done it, but post 2016, post COVID, it's the first time. And she said they were all like, you go to local community, Rajasthan, Africa. And is anyone from CPOD who went on that?
It was in Punjab, Fazilika they took it.
So maybe that must be it. The point is, she said they were all like, अच्छा हमने सोचा JNU के students हैं तो पता नहीं क्या होंगे, इतने सुशील, इतने interesting, इतने respectful. So when they actually meet you, with extraordinary people like Anupama Roy. When Anupama Roy went to speak at a college in Delhi University, and they said to her, "Aap JNU ke professor, you know Anupama, you know how soft spoken she is, right?" They were like, "Aap JNU ke professor?" Achha, I went to speak, and I'm not soft spoken at all. But I just did some talk on gender, feminism, I didn't feel any punches. And members of the faculty there came up to say कि हमने सोचा था कि आप पता नहीं कैसी होंगी, लेकिन आप मैंने कहा कि मेरे दोस्त होंगे, आपने सोचा, वाकई सोचा. But when they meet us, we are just this. We are these people. We are just ordinary people with different views. So I think it's important to also engage wherever you are in ordinary ways, in all our ordinariness. We are just ordinary, right? So that's the other thing. So in response to you, I just want to say this, that we can't convince those who are ideologically opposed. We just said they can't convince us. But people who were ideologically opposed to us did gradually shift in our direction. Purushottam Agarwal was an RSS member. Our Menon, she was an RSS member. And of course, it's in our direction very other also. But then that journey has been.
You were talking, Professor, about touching off government.
No, I don't recommend it.
Nothing of meaning, she left WhatsApp. She didn't actually left them off, she just left them WhatsApp.
I mean, it's everybody's choice. I mean, if that one becomes so unsufferable that it's just to respond to what you said. I mean, if you're very specifically around social media, there's this thing that we all have to be very circumspect about the power of social media and our ability to intervene and stay in the midst of that thunderstorm. I found myself at least now stepping back and getting this strong feeling that it's an echo chamber. So while the everything is flooding, and you might, and I've seen friends around me who are on Twitter and responding to things and you cannot control, and you have to decide what the limits are. And 5 years ago, if I heard the phrase "pick your battles," I would have reacted and come out in minds. But when I feel, you can keep saying
सभी को। और जैसा कि हम समझते हैं कि एक वर्कशॉप से या एक सेशन से ये तमाम जो सवाल है वो समाधान नहीं हो सकता है, और इस प्रकार के कार्यक्रम को और कराने की जरूरत है, और सिर्फ आयसा की तरफ से नहीं बल्कि हॉस्टल्स में, ताकि इस कैंपस को, अपने क्लासरूम्स को और हम इसके बाहर अपने समाज को सभी के लिए सुरक्षित बना सके। और इसकी एग्जाम और इसकी लड़ाई जारी रहेगी। आप सभी को ज्वाइन करने के लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। शुक्रिया।